After a comet passes Earth, two sisters discover almost everyone is gone. Along the way of trying to figure out what happened, they learn how to live in a world with fewer people and zombies. On the eve of a rare comet, Regina, who works at a movie theater, plays an arcade game. Beating her high scores, she is annoyed to discover that a certain DMK has taken 6th place. Her boss, Mel, tells her to get back to work, which she doesn't like doing because candies are thrown at her but is compelled to do it anyway. Inside the projector room, the projectionist, Larry, is talking on the phone about leasing a bootleg copy of a rare movie for $110. Regina enters and asks Larry if he knows a DMK, but he tells her no, telling the person on the phone to bring the movie back by 6 a.m. tomorrow and pick it up in an hour. As part of the plan, Larry tells Regina to leave the back door open and he'll give her a cut. However, she worries that if they spend the night at the theater, they'll miss the comet sighting, and he just tells her to watch it on TV. Larry asks again, offering her $15 to spend the night and wait for the print. Elsewhere, Samantha, Regina's sister, is watching TV until the phone rings. Samantha answers and reports that Doris, their stepmother, had her doing stuff for the comet party. Regina asks her sister to tell Doris that she will be in the observatory with the science class to watch the comet. However, Doris tells Regina to go home after work, adding she can watch the comet at home. After hanging up the phone, Samantha comments on Doris' affair with another man. They get into an argument and Doris slaps her. The girl retaliates, but the stepmother punches her, knocking her back onto the TV. Later at the party, strange thunder and lightning cover the night sky and everyone is mesmerized by the sight. Meanwhile, Regina and Larry have an intimate moment in the projection room. The woman worries about getting caught while the sky outside flashes red. The following day, a red-tinted mist covers the sky, and clothes stained with dust litter the streets. As automatic sprinklers turn on, the city wakes up without its owners in sight. At the projection booth, Regina wakes up to Larry freaking out about the film. She tells him that they're just late, but Larry decides to go over and check. On his way out, Larry hears someone at the door and assumes it's the guy with the film but sees a zombie instead. Startled, Larry gets hit with a wrench by the zombie, knocking him out. Back at the theater, Regina is at the arcade machine, knocking out DMK's high score. She reaches over the counter to get some candy and pushes a trash bin against the front theater door to hold it open. Outside, she sees littered clothes on the street and the red mist covering the sky, thinking it's bad smog. Suddenly, the door closes, locking her out of the theater. She tries the alley back door, but it's also locked. Then, she finds Larry's motorcycle keys on the ground and the bloodied wrench. Afterward, Regina heads towards Larry's bike at the end of the alley but is alarmed by a noise. When she turns around, the same zombie that killed Larry appears. Regina strikes preemptively, hitting the zombie in the face and on its body, knocking it back enough for her to get to the bike. The zombie grabs her from behind and throws her onto a pile of boxes, so she grabs a piece of wood, hits the zombie with it, and kicks him in the face before she rides away. Riding around an abandoned city, Regina doesn't see anybody but clothes littered everywhere. She goes home and calls out to Samantha and Doris, but no one answers. Slowly making her way up the stairs and calling out to Samantha, she turns a corner and bumps into her sister, startling them both. Not realizing what's going on, Samantha tells her sister that she's going to pep squad practice. Regina grabs her and tells her everyone's gone. Thinking that it's all a joke, Samantha doesn't believe her sister, but Regina yanks her, showing that outside, all that remains are clothes and dust. Regina asks if she noticed it's Saturday morning and there aren't any kids playing outside. Samantha gets visibly worried and goes back inside the house. With reality setting in, she admits she's scared, and as they argue, they hear a DJ on the radio and realize that it's live. They get into the car and head to the radio station but discover that everything is automated. Suddenly, a man named Hector pops out with a gun, adamantly telling Samantha to step into the light, prepared to shoot her. Samantha obliges and steps into the light. The man asks her to open her eyes, and she mockingly widens them and leans forward to give him a better look. Satisfied with his little test, Hector lowers his gun and tells the girls he's a truck driver. He shares that on his way to San Diego with a woman he picked up, he saw a zombie at a gas station. The woman he was with freaked out, ran away, and was killed by zombies. Hearing his story, Regina realizes the same thing happened to Larry, making her sick, so she runs to the bathroom. The man follows Regina, knocks on the door to check on her, and introduces himself. He tells her they should stay together and that her younger sister is handling the situation better than her. Regina opens the door and tells him it's because her sister thinks they'll be rescued and that her father will storm in and save her, making Hector think that Samantha might be right. Back at the DJ booth, Samantha starts a broadcast, asking if there is anyone else out there. She announces that she's taking in requests, giving giving out the station's number. And to her surprise, the phone rings. Meanwhile, Regina shares with Hector that she knows where automatic weapons are stored. Unexpectedly, Samantha barges in, letting them know that someone called, and they all run back to the DJ booth. Hector picks up the phone, but no one is on the other end. The two begin interrogating Samantha on what the caller said, but all she could remember is that they said they were in the desert, in some research facility. As the three argue, they unknowingly broadcast their conversation over the radio, and a group of scientists listen in on them. The research personnel discuss bringing the survivors into the facility, but Audrey White, one of the scientists, opposes it. She states they do not have the data to make such decisions, but Dr. Carter, the leader of the group, decides otherwise. Back on the road, Samantha takes out the car for a ride and is surprised to see two cops behind her. She pulls over and is startled to see two zombie cops. They grab her with their bloodied hands, trying to pull her out of the car, so she fights back feverishly before she wakes up, relieved that it was just a bad dream. She goes to the bathroom to freshen up but is startled again by a zombie cop. Frightened, she screams as it grabs her from behind, stabbing her with a switchblade. Samantha wakes up screaming and terrified. A panicked Hector runs into the room and asks Regina if everything is fine as she comforts her sister. Later on, Hector tells Regina that he needs to check on his family in San Diego. Regina shares that for her family, it has been mostly her and Samantha since their dad went off to fight in war. Curious, Hector brings up Larry, the guy who Regina mentioned previously, to which she says they weren't going steady. She then pleads with Hector not to go to San Diego but insists he has to and promises to have dinner once he's back. The following day, Samantha shoots up a car for target practice but the gun jams, so she walks away. Regina follows and Samantha asks if she made out with Hector last night, surprising the older sister. Regina asks if that's what's been bugging her, and her sister replies that all her life, her big sister gets all the men and now she's taking the last man on Earth. Realizing how silly their argument is, the sisters laugh it off. In San Diego, Hector arrives home and parks outside, hearing music coming from the house, giving him hope. He rushes in and calls out to his mother but realizes that there is no one home. He takes a pillowcase and puts family mementos inside it but stops when he hears something nearby. Alarmed by the noise, he pulls out his gun. He hears growling from the front door and warns that he's armed as he opens the door, seeing a zombie boy. The kid barges in through the door and chases Hector, hesitating to shoot a boy. Hector runs instead and escapes through a window. Back at the research facility, Audrey documents the rate of their infection and notices she's losing memories. Dr. Carter enters the room and tells her that survivors are coming in and asks how long the blood test will take. Dr. Carter tells her to go to Los Angeles and do tests in the field, and she agrees, noting if that's what the majority wants. Noticing Audrey's disdain, Dr. Carter asks her if she does not agree with the decisions, and she tells him bringing in survivors was never part of the plan. Then, they reach the helipad and she sees children, sickening Audrey. Back in the city, Samantha tells her sister she needs clean clothes because she's getting rashes. Samantha asks her older sister if she likes Hector, to which Regina says he's nice. Emotional, the younger sister talks about her crush and best friend as she cries. To change the topic, she brings up her rashes, wanting to go home and change, but Regina has a better idea. The sisters go to a department store and try on different outfits, accessories, and makeup, all the while not realizing they are being watched. From a control room, a man watches them through the security cameras and tells three other armed men to go. The lights suddenly go out and a voice over the speakers tells them he hopes they're ready to pay for everything they took. So Regina silently signals to Samantha to get her gun. Realizing they are being watched, Regina shoots the cameras. The voice orders the other men to take her out, so she takes cover behind a column. Then, Samantha throws high heel shoes at the men, distracting them and giving Regina enough time to move. Samantha gets to a higher level and tosses a TV down but misses. Shortly after, they catch up to her and grab her as a hostage to coax Regina out. Regina takes a hostage of her own, but Willie, the leader of the group, tells her that he can't have one of his people held hostage, shooting his own man. Back on the streets, Audrey, Oscar, Dr. Wilson, and other scientists arrive in their helicopter and head to the mall, checking all levels. In the mall stockroom, Willie tells the hostages that a few days ago they were stock boys. Now they own the store, but then the sisters stole from them. Samantha asks what they want and Willie removes his sunglasses, revealing his decomposing face. He tells her that in her worst nightmares, she wouldn't believe what they want and then announces that they're playing a game called Scary Noises. Willie points a revolver at Samantha and pulls the trigger, but luckily, the chamber is empty. He tells the sisters that the next one will surely have a bullet, but as he is about to pull the trigger, shots are fired, killing the stock boys. The scientists arrive just in time to save the sisters, but after seeing Samantha's rash, they decide not to bring her back to the facility. Agreeing, Audrey volunteers to be left behind with Samantha and wait for Hector. Audrey suggests to Samantha that they wait for Hector to return, and Regina is taken to the facility on a helicopter. Back at the stock room, Audrey tells Samantha that she'll give her something for her rash, but the girl tells her she gets them when she's nervous. Before the scientist injects her, Samantha asks if the injection would help if the rash came from the comet, and Audrey nods yes. As Samantha continues to ask Audrey questions, she abruptly stops talking, seemingly dozing off. Oscar thinks the girl is dead and asks if that's it, to which Audrey replies if she should have just shot her. On the other hand, Oscar is glad that the girl's death is painless. Audrey tells him that they can go, but her colleague thinks they should wait for Hector. She tells him that he was right about the condition progressing, but instead of weeks, they only have hours, and admits she doesn't want to bring anyone else back to the facility. Hearing this, Oscar slowly reaches for his weapon. Seeing his reaction, Audrey asks if he thinks she's going to shoot him, making Oscar nervously laugh, but she shoots anyway. Meanwhile, Hector, wearing a Santa suit, heads back to the radio station. He calls out to the sisters but is greeted by Audrey, pointing a gun at him. The woman tells him she wrote everything down on a pad for him to understand what's happening and readies a syringe to inject herself. She divulges that they were taking in survivors, hoping they could create a serum to reverse the effects of the comet on them. She adds that in 36 hours, everyone will be dust before she loses consciousness. At the research facility, Regina is questioned by Dr. Carter about her medical history. She grows suspicious and demands to know where her sister is. Dr. Wilson knocks, asking Dr. Carter to step outside, and as he gets up, he tells Regina that her sister is dead. Dr. Wilson goes back inside and offers his condolences, but sees that Regina has ransacked the room. Telling her there's no point in hitting inanimate objects as he fixes the equipment, Regina hits him on the head, knocking him out. At the facility's gates, a car arrives and the guard stands on alert. Hector befriends the guard, offering him a woman. Then, he opens the trunk, revealing Samantha lying inside, but the guard thinks she's dead. Hector tells him she was just injected with sedatives to make her appear dead. Suddenly, Samantha opens her eyes, grabbing the guard while Hector slams the trunk door on his head. Meanwhile, Regina heads into a dark room, finds a flashlight, and discovers that she's in the facility's blood harvesting room. Freaking her out, Dr. Wilson enters the room and slaps her as revenge for hitting him on the head earlier. Outside, Hector plants explosives on the facility's vehicles while Samantha switches the main power of the facility off, causing life support systems to fail. Dr. Carter orders Dr. Wilson to shut the alarms off, taking over his guest, Regina. Regina sees an opportunity to get the gun away from him and hits Dr. Carter, getting away again. She enters the room where the other scientists are about to inject the two kids, Sarah and Brian. Regina asks the kids what the scientists were doing to them, and the kids tell her they were about to be gassed to see Santa Claus, which sickens Regina. A voice behind Regina startles her, causing her to shoot. Luckily, she misses and she sees it's Samantha, who Regina thought was dead. Afterward, the two sisters, along with the kids, reach an elevator that leads outside. Outside, Hector pulls up and everyone hops in the car and they drive away, but Hector stops just outside the gate to taunt the doctors. Seeing them within reach, Dr. Carter orders everyone to get in their vehicles. Dr. Wilson smells gasoline and is suspicious, but a zombie Dr. Carter turns the car key, causing the car to explode. As they watch the doctors burn, a zombie tries to take Sarah. Hector manages to pull the zombie off the kid, so Regina tosses the gun to him and he shoots the zombie. The following day, rain washes away the red mist and the dust, turning the sky back to blue. Days go by, and Regina and Hector take care of the kids. The new family takes pictures while Samantha, feeling left out, waits for them on the other side of the street. After taking photos, the family waits for the traffic light before crossing the road. Infuriated, Samantha asks what they're waiting for, thinking they're insane since there is no one around. To prove her point, she crosses the road against the light, but as she does, a car drives by, almost hitting her. The car comes back around and the driver apologizes to Samantha and tells her she shouldn't cross against the light. Smitten at the first man she's seen in a while, Samantha tells him he has a nice car. He tells her he has 23 of them and offers her a ride. Hector tells Samantha they don't know anything about this guy, so Samantha asks for the man's name and he tells her his name is Danny Mason Keener. Regina tells Danny to bring her back by midnight. Samantha tells him that the burden of civilization rests upon them, and Danny smiles and agrees. As they drive off, Danny's car license plate spells out DMK.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.